Hi, I'm Haja Dalwal. I'm a product marketing manager for Windows Commercial at Microsoft. Welcome to the series, the Windows IT Pro Stories, where I'm chatting with IT professionals to learn and understand what they have to say about Windows 11. Basically, to get a different perspective to share with you. With that said, I'm going to welcome an IT professional who has a ton of experience and a very good friend of mine, Hoppy Shaw.
Hey, how's it going, Harjit? My name is Hoppy Shaw. My parents gave me that name back in the early 70s. I think they liked beer. I'm not really sure. But anyway, it's kind of stuck with me up to this point. And I've been an IT professional now for about 22 years. I've worked in all kinds of different industries. My current employer is IVOXY Consulting, and we work directly with customers and business owners to help them with all things IT.
Excellent, excellent. And you know, I was going to hit upon your name because I love your name. I really do, and it brings so much like joy and happiness, and you know, springs you back up. Like, so your parents did the right thing. Love it. And
thanks, Harjit.
So you know, I've known you for a while. You know, you have a ton of experience from pharmaceuticals to the airline industry. And now shifted a role to work with customers and businesses, enterprises, and things like that. So, where does that sit for Windows 11? How does your role work out for that?
Well, you know, one of the great things we're able to do in my company is when we go into a business, we look at everything from top to bottom. You know, that includes not only their hardware and other things, but what we're mainly looking at is how are they being productive today? How are their users working? You know, since the pandemic, a lot of businesses are interested in how do they work remotely now when they're not in the office. So one of the things we're able to do, specifically my role at the company, is take a look at how they interact on their desktop and what operating systems they're running, how they're managing those devices. And so one of the great joys of my life now is going into companies and showing them the real value of Windows 11.
Yeah, I agree. You know, I think that's where people get, feel that there's a roadblock with that, or it's just an assumption, but it's not. It's actually one of the easiest upgrades from Windows 10 to Windows 11, and you basically use what you have right now to get to that point. So what are you hearing from your customers and other IT professionals about Windows 11? What they want you to do for them?
Yeah, the biggest concern right now is around security. How secure is my operating system? How easy is it to keep it secure once I do have it installed? How do I manage it? You know, all of those important questions that enterprise customers, small, medium business customers are asking today. You know, Microsoft puts out some great statistics, and the community does as well, about how secure Windows 11 is, how well it does, benchmarking as far as performance is concerned. That's probably the second top most requested feature is, hey, is this thing going to be like some of the older operating systems that didn't perform as well? And we're Microsoft's such a long way from those days. I think with Windows 11 now, we just have constant improvement over Windows 10, not only performance, security. I think once I handle those two things and talk with the customer, and then we get into the next phase of the actual upgrade, I mean, it's just like pretty much a feature update that we're used to on a Windows 10 system. You get that update out there, and even before I even get to the update, the assessment part is what is so awesome now. Whereas as an enterprise engineer, and I've talked to my colleagues about this at different businesses, the assessment part is such a handy tool to understand, are my systems ready to go to Windows 11? And companies are surprised when they get this assessment back and they're like, wow, I can go to Windows 11 today. I had no idea. I thought I needed more hardware, or I needed different hardware, or I didn't meet the requirements. And it turns out they already do. And with a small little upgrade, you go to Windows 11, and customers are happy, enterprises are happy, and everybody's still working. Nothing broke. Yeah. So that's great news.
Excellent, excellent. So what are the tools that you're recommending or helping them implement to get to the Windows 11 journey for management, for securing and all that stuff?
Most folks have something that they're using today to manage endpoints. If they don't, then obviously we talk about endpoint management and endpoint analytics to be able to look at your current fleet and see how things are stacked up. Those are some of our medium to larger customers.
Yeah, and so, I've heard from others as well, and they say, you already have the tools at hand right now. It's not like you need something new. For example, Endpoint Manager, you touched upon that. Windows Update for Business and things like that. They're already there at your disposal. It just enhances things with Windows 11. Yeah, don't reinvent the wheel when it's already there.
Correct.
So, do you have any tips and tricks for IT pros?
One of the biggest ones is start small. Within your organization, one of the things that impresses me the most about Windows 11 is that it just works. A fellow colleague and friend of ours, Stephen Droppelman, I'll drop his name here. One of the things that I love that he does is he always has the saying where he says it just works. And with Microsoft products, I feel like that about a lot of the product stack, because when you add something or update, for example, Windows 10 to Windows 11, I can't believe how many folks are super surprised that everything actually works. And, that's just a great testament to Microsoft's background working to make sure that companies can go to Windows 11 without much headache. And that's one of the biggest things that I can tell folks out there, that start small. You'll be surprised at how much works when you go to Windows 11 that you didn't think would work. It's just an update. So as long as your system meets the requirements, on to Windows 11 you go.
I mean, it's just brilliant. In my opinion, it's brilliant, but I could be biased, right? But I was,
I think you might
maybe, but I was on the other end as well. I've been a long time IT pro, but yeah, it just works. Simple as that. Last but not least, what's your advice? What's your recommendation to customers and IT professionals on why they should do Windows 11?
I think the biggest reason would be because of the performance enhancements, and there's so much information out there that Microsoft has put out, and colleagues of ours that have put out, that show that the CPU and memory usage on a Windows 11 system is handled better than on a Windows 10 system, even with the same hardware. That alone is a compelling enough reason for me and for my customers to go to Windows 11, because I started this conversation talking about one of my goals and roles within this company that I'm in today is to make the desktop experience better for the end user. And if I can do that by simply upgrading them to a different operating system, and the experience out of the box is better, then that's a no-brainer. It's a win for the customer, it's a win for Microsoft, and it's a win for us.
Hoppy, it's been a pleasure to have you here. I'm really excited. I'm so happy to see you and have this amazing conversation. And and thank you everybody for watching.
Thanks, Arjit.